A big pharma CEO is behind bars accused of bribing doctors to overprescribe opioids. The president calls it the worst drug crisis in American history. We'll tell you what he's doing about it and what it means for us. Straight ahead on Daybreak.
This is Daybreak, your morning news source. From the North State to the North Coast, get the facts right.
Welcome to Daybreak. It is 6 o'clock. I'm Kelly Som. We start this half hour with the top 5 things you need to know this morning. Number 1, a police sweep through Redding and Anderson parks led to more than a dozen arrests. RPD, Anderson Police and Shasta County Probation arrested 17 people and collected 1,000 pounds of trash from homeless camps. Number 2, as part of increased police enforcement for Halloween parties, a glass ban in Chico started last night and goes through Sunday night. Police say there will be zero tolerance for alcohol-related crime, and there will be more officers on the streets. Number 3, thousands of records from the JFK assassination investigation were made public last night, but many are still classified. The White House said they held some back because of national security concerns. We now know new information about additional threats leading up to JFK's death. We'll have a full report on those documents coming up in about half an hour. And number 4, we're keeping our eyes on a fire burning in Cleveland National Forest near Los Angeles. The Wildemar fire in Riverside County has burned 350 acres and is 15% contained. Hundreds of residents are under evacuation warnings this morning. And number 5, we're hearing the amazing story of 2 women and their dogs who survived months lost at sea after their sailboat broke down and went adrift. They made it through storms, shark attacks, and were blown thousands of miles off course before they were rescued this week. We'll hear from them about the moment they were saved coming up at 6:30. Temperatures are going to start cooling off. Chief Meteorologist Mike Kruger has our first alert forecast. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Kelly. It's been an unseasonably warm week here, but we're going to get closer to normal, especially as we go into next week. And yet another cool start to your day, even for the valley, getting quite chilly. Temperature of 50 degrees for Redding, 52 in Red Bluff, 51 degrees in Shingletown. And there you can see the low 30s for most of us around Bernie, Chester, and Alturas right now. 43 degrees for Mount Shasta City. About 35 degrees in Hayfork, 49 in Willow Creek. And there are those low to mid 40s for the coast. So again, a pretty cold start to your day. This is what it will look like for your sending the kids off to school this morning. Mostly clear and cold. Temperature of about 52 degrees. Sunrise at 7:34. Then as you're picking the kids up from school today, look for sunny and warm conditions. Most of us should at least be in the upper 80s, maybe even some low 90s for some of the warmer spots, in particular around the Redding area. The coast topping us somewhere around the low to mid 60s. But again, cooling off a bit for the weekend, in particular for next week. Details coming up a little bit later. Kelly.
Well, this morning, a public health emergency stretches across the country because of opioid addiction. Now, President Trump is making it easier for people in rural areas to treat addictions, but other lawmakers say it's still not enough. Candace Gibson has more on what the president calls the worst drug crisis in American history.
President Trump declaring a public health emergency, calling opioids the worst drug crisis in American history.
It is time to liberate our communities from this scourge of drug addiction. We can be the generation that ends the opioid epidemic. We can do it.
The president's public health declaration means patients in rural areas can reach doctors and obtain prescriptions to treat addiction by phone or the internet. And it lifts bureaucratic red tape, allowing more funding for treatment centers in all 50 states. But the president stopped short of declaring a national emergency, instead calling it a public health emergency, which means his action does not come with any additional federal money to address a crisis that kills nearly 100 people every day.
What I would say to the president on that is, show me the money. The president's statement are words without the money.
Trump offering a personal story about his older brother who died of complications from alcoholism in 1981.
He had a problem. He had a problem with alcohol. And he would tell me, don't drink. Don't drink.
The announcement comes as authorities arrest a drug company's billionaire CEO. He and other executives at Insys Therapeutics are accused of bribing doctors to overprescribe their drug, Subsys, a powerful opioid. His attorney already signaling a not guilty plea.
Why? Because there's no evidence against him. He didn't do anything wrong.
Candace Gibson, ABC News, New York.
We'll be taking an in-depth look at the opioid crisis here in the North State throughout the month of November. Every Tuesday and Thursday at 6:30 p.m., we'll examine a different aspect of the local impact. All of that leads up to a half-hour special report on KRCR News Channel 7, November 30th at 7 p.m. In Tehama County, an inmate who deputies have been looking for about a month has been recaptured. Deputies say 24-year-old George Minor escaped from his jail transitional housing at the end of September after finishing his workday at the Tehama County Jail Work Farm. He was in custody on several charges, including possession of stolen property and meth. They say he let his GPS electronic monitoring bracelet go dead, and a citizen found the bracelet cut in the front yard of a home on Antelope Boulevard. Tuesday morning, deputies found him in a vehicle in the Rancho Tehama area. He was arrested after a short foot pursuit. Happening today in Butte County, the media will get a look at the newly remodeled visitor center at Bidwell Mansion in Chico. They've been redesigning exhibits and installing new multimedia installations, updating the exhibit that dated back to the 1990s. The remodels were funded by Proposition 84 bonds that went to state parks. Today, the media will get a look at the renovations. It's open to the public Saturday through Monday. Tonight's Game 3 of the World Series as the action moves to Houston, coming up on Daybreak, where you can catch the game. And prototypes of the Mexico border wall are ready for testing. How this could help the growing fight against opioids, coming up on Daybreak.
Well, once again, we're starting the morning off with those cool temperatures warming up quite nicely once again this afternoon for the valley in particular. But we do expect to drop in our temperatures gradually as we go into next week. We'll have your complete first-serve forecast coming up.